AI, it's everywhere you look these days, right? I mean, there's it's writing code, it's designing graphics. Heck, I even heard it's composing symphonies now.
Right.
Wild. But today we're ditching the hype.
Yeah.
We're getting strategic. We're taking a deep dive into how AI is going to revolutionize your product roadmap.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just like slap an AI feature onto your product and call it a day.
Right.
We need to think bigger. We need to anticipate those ripple effects that AI is going to create. That's where strategic foresight comes in.
Okay. Strategic foresight. So we're not talking about like crystal balls and tarot cards here, right?
Not exactly. No, think of it more like a structured way of exploring all those what-if scenarios, that AI throws our way. It's less about predicting the future and more about being prepared for, well, ANI future.
I like that. I can get behind that. And I see our source material today is all about this very thing. An article from ANDRS, Envisioning AI's Impact, using the futures wheel for product roadmaps.
So they're advocating we ditch the crystal ball in favor of a wheel, huh?
Exactly. This article really nails the concept of speculative futures, this idea that instead of saying, AI will do X, we should be asking, what if AI did Y, or what if it did Z, and how would that impact our roadmap?
Okay, so give me an example. How does this whole speculative futures thing actually work in practice?
Okay, let's say you're building a design platform, right?
Okay.
Imagine using speculative futures to explore a world where AI design tools become so advanced that they can create entire user interfaces just based on simple text prompts. Okay, I see where you're going with this. So suddenly, my roadmap needs to consider if we're competing with these AI tools or if we're integrating them into my platform.
Precisely. Or imagine a future where AI can generate code 10x faster than human developers.
Wow.
That completely changes your development timelines, your resource allocation, maybe even your entire business model.
This is already making my head spin a little bit. And the article really emphasizes how this type of thinking, it helps build more resilient strategies.
Absolutely. It's like that old saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Except with AI, the best and the worst are constantly evolving.
Okay, so how do we actually do this speculative futures thing? The article mentions something called the futures wheel. Is that where we whip out the art supplies?
Get ready to channel your inner artist. It's time to break down the futures wheel. And trust me, this is where things get really interesting.
All right, my inner artist is ready. I've got my metaphorical crayons, ready to go.
Great.
So walk me through this futures wheel. What makes it such a powerful tool?
Well, the futures wheel is all about visually mapping out the cascading consequences of a specific change, right?
No.
It's not just about brainstorming. It's about systematically thinking through those second and third order effects, those effects that might not be immediately obvious.
So like those detective boards where they connect all the clues with red string, except we're connecting potential AI disruptions.
Exactly. And just like in those detective shows, the real insights come from uncovering those less obvious connections. And the article gives a fantastic step-by-step guide, which I think we should definitely visualize as we go.
Okay. I'm all about actionable steps, so let's break it down. What's step one?
Step one, identify your central change.
Yeah.
What's that big AI development that's got you thinking about your roadmap?
Well, let's stick with that AI-powered design tool example we were talking about, right?
Perfect. So we write, AI design tools go mainstream in the center of our wheel. That's our starting point.
Okay, got it. So what's the next layer of the wheel? What goes around that?
Those are your first-order consequences, the immediate, often predictable impacts. So what comes to mind when you think about AI design tools becoming commonplace?
Well, faster design iterations for sure. Maybe even a lower barrier to entry for aspiring designers who don't have years of experience with traditional tools.
Exactly. We're already seeing some of this play out, right?
Yeah.
But here's where the futures wheel gets really interesting. The second and third order consequences.
Yeah.
These are the ripple effects, the unintended consequences, the things that might not be on your radar yet.
Okay, give me a juicy second-order consequence of this AI design tool revolution.
Okay, think about the potential impact on design agencies. If companies can now generate high-quality designs just with AI tools, do they still need to outsource that work?
That's huge. So a design agency that's focused its roadmap on offering, like traditional design services, might need to completely rethink its offerings. Maybe they pivot to consulting on how to best USE these AI tools or specialize in, the highly customized design work that AI can't quite replicate yet.
Now you're thinking like a true futurist. And we can take it even further. What about the third order consequences?
Let me take a stab at this. If AI tools change the skills needed to be a designer, does that change design education? Do design schools need to completely revamp their curriculum? Do we see a new generation of AI design strategists emerging?
Now we're talking about seismic shifts. And that's the beauty of the futures wheel. It helps you see those potential disruptions before they hit you in the face.
This does seem a little overwhelming. I mean, it feels like we could spin this wheel forever and come up with a million different possibilities.
You're absolutely right. Not all consequences are created equal.
Hmm.
And that's where analysis and prioritization come in. The article highlights the importance of asking questions like, how likely is this consequence to happen?
Yeah.
You know, or how big of an impact would it have on our product? And is it something we actually want to encourage or something we need to mitigate?
Okay. So it's not just about identifying the possibilities. It's about filtering them and figuring out which ones are actually worth, building a plan around.
Precisely. And that's what we'll unpack next, how to turn those what-ifs into action.
Okay, so we've spun our futures wheel. We've got this, tangled web of potential AI disruptions. How do we actually translate all of this into, concrete steps for our product roadmap?
So it's all about taking those insights we talked about and weaving them into your strategic planning process.
Right.
Think about it like this. Your roadmap, it's no longer a static document.
Right.
It's a living, breathing entity that evolves alongside these potential AI futures.
So it's less about predicting the future with absolute certainty and more about building a roadmap that's flexible enough to adapt.
Exactly. Let's go back to our AI design tool example.
Hmm.
Say you're a company that makes project management software for design teams, right? Seeing the potential disruption of these AI tools, you wouldn't just add integrate with leading AI design tool as a feature on your roadmap.
Right. You'd also need to consider things like, how does the workflow change for design teams using AI? What new features do they need to manage these AI-generated assets? How do we ensure our platform remains relevant in a world where design happens faster and potentially with less human input?
Now you're thinking strategically.
Hmm.
You're anticipating those user needs before they even arise and building a roadmap that's prepared for multiple possible futures.
And the ANDRS article really hammered home this point about risk management, too. It's not just about the exciting opportunities.
Right.
It's also about those potential downsides we uncovered.
Absolutely. Remember that second-order consequence we discussed about AI potentially displacing jobs at design agencies?
Yeah.
If we ignore that possibility, we could end up building a product for a user base that's shrinking.
Wow. That's a sobering thought. So how do we incorporate that risk into our roadmap?
Maybe you start exploring partnerships with design education platforms, offering training programs on how to use your software in conjunction with AI tools. Or you develop features that help agencies manage freelance talent in a world where project-based work becomes the norm.
So the futures wheel isn't just about predicting the future, it's about proactively shaping it by the choices we make today.
Precisely. And that's a really powerful realization to have, because with AI, we're not just along for the ride, we're in the driver's seat.
This has been eye-opening. So for our listeners who are ready to embrace their inner futurist, what's the key takeaway here?
AI isn't just about adding shiny new features to your product. It's about fundamentally rethinking how we approach product development. It's about embracing uncertainty, anticipating those ripple effects, and building a roadmap that's flexible enough to adapt to whatever the future holds.
Beautifully put. It's not about fearing the future, but shaping it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and product roadmaps. Until next time, keep spinning those wheels and building for the future.